Jayashree Thavre, Assistant Professor and Head Department of Botany and a member of Environmental Awareness and Protection Cell, welcome you all. Chief guest of today's lecture, Dr. Seema Bodke, Principal of the College, Dr. Bagde Sir, Vice Principals, Dr. Chauhan and Dr. Renu Tiwari, Convener of Environment Protection and Awareness Cell and Head of the Department Zoology, Dr. Nitin Mishram, respected members of the cell, faculty members of SK Porwal College, invitees and student friends. Environment Protection and Awareness Cell of our college has organizing today's lecture on the topic Phytoremediation and Sustainable Development for undergraduate students. Today we have the guest speaker, Dr. Seema Bodke Madam, Assistant Professor of Botany, Government Institute of Science, Nagpur. Welcome, ma'am. Before the valuable lecture in today's scenario, I invite Dr. Nitin Mishram, Convener, Environment Awareness and Protection Cell, SKPC Kamptee, to tell us about the activities of the cell. Over to you, Nitin sir.
Thank you, madam. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I am Nitin Purushottam Meshram, Head Department of Zoology and Convener of Environmental Awareness and Protection Cell. Welcome you all. Here I welcome Principal of our college, Dr. M.B. Bagde sir. I welcome the member of the committee, Dr. S.C. Sirpurkar sir, Department of Political Science, Dr. Alok Rai, Department of Microbiology, Dr. Jayashree Thavre madam, Department of Botany, Dr. Shalini Chahande madam, Department of Biochemistry, and our student participants. On behalf of Principal of our college, as well as our committee member, I welcome today's guest speaker, Dr. Seema Bodke Madam, Assistant Professor in Botany, Government Institute of Science College, Nagpur. Environmental Awareness and Protection Cell is our annual committee, and the aim of this committee is to impart the classroom knowledge to the society and aware them about the environmental protection and its conservation. Our students at all commerce and science actively take part in the various activities organized by our committee. Our students visited to the villages near Kamptee town and make aware villagers about environmental protection and its conservation by organizing programs. Then our students also organize a program in village schools and make them aware regarding plantation, cleanliness, health awareness, good habits, economical use of water and electricity, campaign like Save Water, Save Earth to the emerging kids of primary, middle school and high school level. Finally, the main motto of Environmental Awareness and Protection Cell is to impart the classroom knowledge to society and make aware them about the environmental protection so that the society get benefited. Once again, I welcome today's guest speaker, Dr. Seema Bodke Madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. With the permission of convener, we started the webinar proceedings. But before inviting our resource person, Dr. Seema Bodke, I like to introduce her. Dr. Bodke has done her PhD, MSc from Institute of Science, Nagpur, and she was the second university topper at that time. She has done her PhD from the same institute on the topic Studies on the Subterranean Algae of some Cultivated Fields of Nagpur. She has been awarded her PhD degree in 2001. She devoted 17 years of teaching to undergraduate and postgraduate students and research. She attended many national and international conferences and workshops and presented her work. She has published 19 research papers in national and international journal of repute. She had given many invited lectures on environment related subjects like environmental ethics and its conservation, soil health management, noise pollution and its health effects from Nirmalya to Nirmal environment. She had organized and also a member of many national conferences and seminars organized by various cells and department of botany at Institute of Science Nagpur and Government College of Arts and Science Aurangabad. Today she will talk on phytoremediation and sustainable development. What is phytoremediation? In Greek, phyto means plant and in Latin, remedium means restoring balance. Phytoremediation is a bioremediation process that uses various types of plants to remove, transfer, stabilize, and or destroy contaminants in the soil and in groundwater. I'd like to invite our resource person, Dr. Seema Bodke Madam, for giving her presentation. Over to you, Seema Madam.
Thank you, Dhaure Madam, for your nice words to put forth my introduction to your students. Thank you. Respected Principal, Sir, Dr. M.B. Bagde, Sir, convener of today's event, that is Dr. N.P. Mishram, Sir, committee members of Environmental Awareness and Protection Cell, Dr. Shirpurkar, Dr. Dhaure, Dr. Alok Rai, Dr. Chahande, and head of various departments and dear students. I would first of all like to thank the Environmental Awareness and Protection Cell for inviting me as a resource person for this event. The main motto, as Mishram sir has just pointed out, the main motto of this cell is to make the students aware about the environmental issues, as well as let the students to promote the environmental issues and convey the message to the nearby areas, so that the problems that has been created in the environment that can be solved, and the awareness regarding not polluting the environment and sustainable development can be put forth to the society. And that is the motto which sir has very well mentioned. Today we are going to talk on the topic phytoremediation and sustainable development. Let me share my screen first, and then we'll proceed towards the actual topic. So, are you able to see the presentation, madam? Okay. So let's proceed. The phytoremediation and the sustainable development for the development of the society, and to use the nature or the environment by the human being, by the other components of the nature, we have to maintain the development in the environment, so that the future generation can also harness the benefits from the environment. And for that, we have to maintain the activities which in present we are creating in the environment. We all have talked about various issues regarding pollution which is created by human being on this earth due to the population increase or the unmanaged exploitation of the natural resources, and due to the various man-made activities. What is pollution? First of all, is the harmful substances which are allowed to flow in nature that are create or disturbing the atmosphere, that is creating the problem in the environment. And that that is the definition of pollution. And this pollution which is created, it is harmful for not only to the human being but also to the nature, other components of the nature, the microorganisms, the animals, and the plants. This has the pollution has not only is created by the human activities, that is the industrial development, as well as the agricultural activities also. That is the use of agrochemicals in agriculture also has created this pollution. There are large amount of chemicals that are released in atmosphere, though it may be the soil pollution, the heavy metals are released in the soil, or the water pollution that is created by the industrial influence when it's allowed to flow in the river or in lake, which creates pollution in the water bodies, leakage of the petroleum products, and the use of pesticides and fertilizers in agricultural activities. All these has a large impact on the pollution. We have discussed a lot during the earlier periods. While talking about pollution, we are aware about the pollutions that is created by all these activities. We have we also know what are the sources of the pollution, what are the effects of the pollution. But it's time now to discuss and to spread the awareness regarding the remedies. We now have to provide these solutions to the all environmental problems. The one thing, one way to remove this pollution is at source. We can decrease the amount of pollution. And the another way is to some of the ways we have to consider which will decrease the load of pollution on the environment. All these pollution problems has a large amount of consequences on the environment. It disturbs the ecosystem which is properly going on, whether it is the aquatic ecosystem, forest ecosystem, or the desert ecosystem. All the pollution has created some of the effects on the ecosystem. The results are the global warming, some health issues in the human beings, as well as the infertile land that has been created due to the use of a large amount of agrochemicals and pesticides in agriculture. The industrial waste that is called as the effluent, which is allowed to flow in aquatic ecosystem. It may contain some of the contaminants as well as large amount of heavy metals. Depending upon the industry from which it has been discarded, it will contain all the different types of chemicals. That has the main or the most important issue in our country. Along with that, the heavy metals which are allowed to flow in the water bodies, it is not only going to affect the ecosystem, but as well as when the water is used for agriculture purpose, that heavy metals are transported to the agricultural field also. This poses a long-term threat for the environment. Now, one of the solutions, I am not saying that this is the only solution, but it is one of the solution is phytoremediation. The word itself describes that phyto, that is the plants, and remediation, that is the solution to the pollution. So to remediate, to resolve the problem which has been created, plants can be used very well. From 1991, this term is being used, which describes the use of plants to decrease the volume of, to decrease the toxicity and the number of chemicals which has been added to the land. The use of plant to reduce the volume, the mobility or the toxicity of contaminants in soil as well as in the groundwater or other contaminated media. Whatever the influence or the effects of various chemicals that has been imparted in the soil, that can be cleaned up by this process. It is just a simple thing where we can use plants to clean up the pollution in the environment, whether the pollution is due to some of the heavy metals or due to the other petroleum chemicals in the soil as well as in the groundwater. Here we are using the plants. The plants are uptaking the chemicals along with the microorganisms. In normal condition, plants, when they are growing in soil, they themselves are not in present, but along with their large number of microorganisms, they are putting down the metabolic activities taking place in the plants. They are helping the large amount of microorganisms in the soil also. These microorganisms along with the green plants will reduce the environmental problem and without the need of to excavate the contaminated material. The soil where the effluents are disposed of on the land, that can be excavated or that can be removed from the soil with the help of these plants and the microorganisms. The zone that where the microorganisms is growing along with the plant, that area, that is the large area where the roots are present, that is known as the rhizosphere. This microorganism, there are large number of microorganisms present in that particular area. They absorb along with the plant all the chemicals or the contaminants in the soil. It is in the natural process, it can be a very effective remediation method at different types of sites where the contaminants has been disposed of. The selected plant species, they have some genetic potential to remove, to degrade, metabolize or immobilize a wide variety of contaminants in the soil. So such plants can be used to remove the contaminants from the soil. Now the mechanism, how this plant remediates or absorbs the chemicals from the soil. The mechanism and efficiency of the phytoremediation process, it depends upon the type of contaminants or the type of chemicals which has been added, bioavailability and the soil properties. All these things are very much important for the process of phytoremediation. The root system, that is the main function of the root is to fix the plant to the soil as well as to absorb water and solutes from the soil. Along with the water and solutes, the chemicals, the contaminants which are present in the soil can be absorbed by the plant and accumulate this inside the plant. So that mechanism helps in the process of phytoremediation. The mechanism of phytoremediation takes place with the help of various processes that includes phytoextraction, phytostabilization, phytotransformation, phytostimulation, phytovolatilization, and the rhizofiltration. We are going to describe one by one what are the processes that are taking place in the plant. The first is the phytoextraction. The extraction, that is the uptake of the contaminants, whatever the contaminants that are present in soil, that can be taken up with the help of the roots that will be accumulated in the plant, in the above ground parts of the plant, by the process absorbing the water along with the solutes and concentrating and precipitating these chemicals in the various parts of the plant. The process of absorption, that is the ascent of sap along with water through the xylem, the contaminants are taken up by the roots through there is the wide branching of roots in the soil. With the help of these branches and the rootlets, the chemicals, that is the contaminants, are absorbed along with water and transported to the upper parts of the plant, where the plants are, all the contaminants are deposited in the various parts. This process of phytoextraction that can be natural or assisted. In the natural process, the plant will absorb the contaminant along with the water and get accumulated in the various parts. While it can also be helped with the use of some chelating agents such as EDTA, which will enhance the process of absorption. Some of the use of microbes can be done, and the plant hormones can also assist the process of phytoextraction. It will help in rapid absorption, and along with that the uptake of the contaminants, and it will accelerate the process, that is the accumulation of all the chemicals or the contaminants in the plant. Along with that, this process of uptake of contaminant can also be accelerated by the use of hyperaccumulators. While the cost of this process is very less as compared to the conventional method. In one of the experiments, it was proved that the plants, when grown in such contaminated areas, the nickel which was present in large quantity in soil was absorbed by the plant, and the nickel, that is the heavy metal, was deposited in the aerial parts, that is in the leaves and stem. The plants can be uprooted, or the parts of the plant which contains these chemicals can be later on extracted. So with the help of the plants, the chemicals or the heavy metals which are present in the soil can be removed, while the process, that is the conventional method, takes lot of time or takes lot of money to excavate all these contaminated areas. The contaminants can be permanently removed from that particular soil which was containing the heavy metals or other contaminants. And this process, that is phytoextraction, it shows 95% of removal of the heavy metals. The only requirement is that plant must have the capacity to extract large concentrations of heavy metals with the help of the roots. It should be able to translocate the heavy metals in the above ground parts, that is the biomass. It should produce large amount of biomass so that all the contaminants which is present in the soil can be transferred in the various aerial parts of the plant. And in addition, the remediative plants, the plants which we are using, must have the mechanism to detoxify and to tolerate this high concentration of metals where they are growing. Otherwise, what will happen? The plant itself will die. It will be the toxic to the plant, and the plant will die. And that should not be the case. We want the plant that will detoxify by the metabolic activities. It should remove the chemicals from the plant, and they should be tolerant to all these heavy metals. So such type of plants can be used, and the phytoextraction can be done. The another mechanism which takes place during the phytoremediation is phytostabilization. It refers to immobilization of the contaminants. The contaminants which are available in soil, which is moving along with the water in another area or present in the groundwater, that has to be immobilized. And there are some plants which can help in this process, that is called as phytostabilization. What are the processes that are taking place? The absorption and accumulation of the contaminants takes place in the root, absorption of these contaminants on the roots, and precipitation within the roots. That when these process takes place during the phytostabilization. And the mobility of the contaminants is reduced due to the immobilization, and it will not migrate to the groundwater, and now it is not available in the food chain. Once the chemical enters the plant material, that can be removed, and the heavy metals or the contaminants can be extracted from the plants. The another process by which the phytoremediation takes place is phytotransformation, also known as phytodegradation. That is, the contaminants are taken up by the plant and it is broken down into various other products by the metabolic activities that are taking place inside the plant. There are various processes that are taking place in the plant, and all this, the enzymatic activity inside the plant broke down the chemicals, the heavy chemicals or the heavy metals and the herbicides or the chlorinated solvents which are present in the contaminated area, that can be broken down and accumulated in the plant. This method or this mechanism helps for the remediation of the organic contaminants such as chlorinated solvents, herbicides, and the munitions. It also helps in addressing the contaminants present in soil, sediments, or the groundwater. The pollutants from the landfills or the from the industrial areas, due to the leaching problem, the chemicals enters in the groundwater and now they are available in groundwater, which is directly used by human being for the drinking purpose. Not only by human being, but also for the agricultural purpose we are using the groundwater, as well as for the animals also. Once this groundwater is contaminated, then it is very much harmful for the consumption purpose. And therefore, the removal of all these contaminants from the groundwater is very important. The another mechanism which is taking place is phytovolatilization. That is the process which involves plants by absorbing the chemicals present in the contaminant area and converting or transforming them into a volatile form, which will be later on transpired from the surface of the leaves into the atmosphere. Once the contaminants enters inside the plant, later on it is broken down into different forms, that is in the volatile form, and through the evaporation or through the transpiration process from the surface of leaves, they are transpired in the atmosphere. That process is called as phytovolatilization. It entails to the diffusion of contaminants from the stem as well as other parts of the plant, and the contaminant travels through this plant and reaches the leaves, where from it will be transpired. This process mainly works for the organic compounds as well as for the heavy metal contaminants. It helps in removing the trichloroethane, some of the organic compounds as well as some of the inorganic chemicals also can be removed from the contaminant areas, such as selenium and arsenic. While the most importantly used, this process is used for the removal of mercury. Mercury is absorbed by the plants and it gets evaporated or transpired through the surface of leaf in the atmosphere. One of the drawback of this process is that once in the atmosphere, the mercury can come back along with the precipitation to the surface area. So that is the one of the limitation of this process. The another mechanism by which the phytoremediation works is phytostimulation, also called as rhizodegradation. That is the breakdown of contaminants which are present in the contaminated soil that are broken down with the help of plant root zone, which is called as the rhizosphere. The area where the roots can reach, that whole area is called as rhizosphere, and there are large number of microorganisms present. Mostly in the leguminous plant, rhizobium is present, or the particular species of rhizobium is present respective to that particular plant. Along with the rhizobium, there are large number of microorganisms present which are helping the plant for the various metabolic activities. And in turn, the plant is getting, the microorganisms are provided with the surface area on the roots of the plant. The plant also exudes some of the sugars, amino acids, enzymes, and other compounds which helps or which stimulates the bacterial growth. And these microorganisms which are present in the rhizosphere zone, they help in absorbing the contaminants and converting these contaminants into these simpler compounds. This process helps in the removal of petroleum hydrocarbons. So the plants along with the microorganisms are helping for the phytoremediation process. The another mechanism is rhizofiltration.
Good morning.
Okay. Usually, as you all know, hydroponics are the systems where the plants are grown in water, where the various chemicals or the nutrients are added to the water. Here, without soil, the plants are grown. Mostly in Israel, this process is taken up for the agriculture purpose. That is, the horticultural plants are grown in this by this method called as hydroponics. This process of the hydroponics can be used for the absorption of the contaminants present in mostly in the groundwater or any other water sources. The absorption or the precipitation of these chemicals or the contaminants which are present in water can be taken up by the root zone. It is used to extract groundwater, surface water, and the wastewater with low contaminants. Usually, with high contamination, this process cannot work because the plant will die due to the presence of high quantity of contaminants. Compared to phytoextraction, the plants are used to address the groundwater rather than the soil. Here, the method of using the extraction of chemicals can be done from the water. This method of that is the mechanism, that is rhizofiltration, can be used to remove the heavy metals such as lead, cadmium, copper, nickel, zinc, and chromium, which will be retained within the roots. The various uh, plants that has been usually used to remove lead from water, and the research have shown that along with the other plants, the mustard, tobacco, rye, spinach, sunflower was the best plant which shows the higher ability to remove the chemicals from the soil. Now, how this hydroponics works? Usually, the plants are grown in the hydroponics, that is, in water with the help of the mechanical support. The plants are grown in water while providing nutrients through the water. Once the plants are grown to its full vegetative growth, then the polluted water is pumped in the process, and through this process, the pumped polluted water, the chemicals from the polluted water will be absorbed by the plants through the roots and will be settled down inside the plants. And through the outlet, the clean water can be removed from the mechanism, from the system. The chemicals or the heavy metals which were present in the polluted water now has been absorbed by the plants. The plants will be extracted or removed, and the chemicals which were present in water can be extracted from the above ground parts of the plant. Now, what to do with the contaminants which are now actually present in the plant? In the process of phytoremediation, all the chemicals or the contaminants which were actually present in soil now has been transferred inside the plant. The plant has, in the phytovolatilization, the chemicals has been transformed and removed from, and it has been transpired through the surface of the leaf. But in the other processes, the chemicals or the heavy metals are actually present in the plant itself. So the shoot is harvested to recover metal. The shoot can be removed from the plant, and the chemicals or the heavy metals can be recovered from this part. Otherwise, it will be transferred or the plant may be consumed by some animal, and again the heavy metals or the contaminant is going to enter in the food chain. So along with the microbial activity which is taking place along with the plant root, if, the process of phytoremediation is taking place in the conjunction with bacteria as well as the fungi that are present in the rhizosphere zone. It helps in the transformation of the chemicals. It transports and stores the harmful chemicals. But the attributes that the plant should have to make it a good representative for the phytoremediation, it should have a very good root system so that it can absorb large amount of chemicals from the soil. It will accumulate water and the nutrients along with the contaminants. It will selectively take up the ions, and the plant has to be developed. Has to be adaptive. It should adapt to the high tolerance. It also have to be tolerant to the high level of chemicals or the heavy metals which are present as a pollutant in the contaminated site. The root zone here plays an important role where the microorganisms are present. The soil supports large population of the microorganisms, and along with the plant and the microorganism, the process takes place. The chemicals which are exuded by the plant roots along with that provides the carbon and energy for the growth of the microorganism. So in combination of the plants and microorganism, the biodegradation of the contaminants takes place. In a nutshell, this is the process where you can see with the help of the diagram here, it is shown that these are the contaminants, the circles are the contaminants, the phytoaccumulation is been taken up, that is the pollutants are taken up by the plant and transported to the above ground parts. In the mechanism known as phytovolatilization, these chemicals are evaporated or transpired to the surface of soil, or the phytodegradation, that is the metabolic activities that taking place inside the plant. They degrade the compounds and can be accumulated in the plant. While the phytostabilization is the process through which the contaminants or the heavy metals or the chemicals, they are phytostabilized on the surface of the roots. Then the phytostimulation, again here the degradation of the organic pollutants is taken up by has been taking place inside the soil, which will help in the degradation of the pollutants. So all these various mechanisms are taking place in plant which is being used for the remediation of the contaminants present in the soil. These are some of the definitions and the places where this mechanism is taking place. Phytoremediation is the one process where the plant is used, but it takes place with the help of the various mechanisms. Phytoextraction, it is the transfer of pollutants from the soil and accumulation in the above ground parts of the plant. Rhizofiltration, it is the transfer of pollutants from the soil and accumulated inside the roots. Bioremediation or the phytostimulation, enhancement of microbial community and increase of biodegradation in the rhizosphere with the help of the various microorganisms present inside the rhizosphere zone. Phytostabilization, it is the stabilization of heavy metals in the soil or on the surface of the root and reduction of heavy metal mobility. Phytodegradation, due to the enzymatic activities or the metabolic activities taking place in the plants, the degradation of the plants taking place inside the plant tissue. And the phytovolatilization, that is the transfer of pollutants from the soil and through the surface of the leaf, it will be transpired in the atmosphere. So all these processes are taking place during the phytoremediation. Now, what are the advantages of this process? The cost or the money which is required is very low as compared to the traditional process. The plant can be monitored very easily. The growth of the plant can be monitored, as well as the recovery of the chemicals or the metals can be taken up. We can extract the chemicals from the plant material, which is also called as phytomining, and it is least harmful method, because the only process, that is natural process, is taken up. No chemicals are used in this process, and it preserves the environment in its natural state. We are not using any chemicals, or we are not destructing the environment for the in this process called as phytoremediation. There are some of the limitations also for using this method to remove the contaminants. It can be used in limited surface area, and the contaminants, if present on the surface area, that can be removed. But if the contaminants are present in deeper areas, that it is not possible to use this method. The uh, uh, the reach of the roots is the important factor over here. The roots, where the roots can be the penetration of the roots are taking place, only in that particular area the contaminants can be removed. The phytoremediation is slower process as compared to the conventional method, which is faster and costlier. The plant-based remediation, it is not possible to remove the contaminants, which prevents the leaching of the contaminants, and the survival of the plant is affected if the contaminants are in large quantity, and if they are lethal, then in that condition the plants are not able to remove these chemicals. The bioaccumulation of the contaminants, especially the metals, into the plants, and sometimes this may enter the food chain, that is the primary consumers, if they are consuming these plants, so it will be entering into the food chain. That is the most adverse effect of the phytoremediation process. We should not allow the use of these plants which are being used for phytoremediation for the consumption by the primary consumers. So that is the limitation of this process. The various types of plants can be used for this process. The plant species which are selected should have some of the abilities to extract and degrade the contaminants. They should be adapted to the local climate. They should produce high biomass, so that large quantity of contaminants can be deposited. They should have the root should grow to a larger distance area and to the depth of the soil. It should be compatible to that particular area. The growth rate should be good, and it should not need heavy maintenance. And the plant should have the ability to take up large quantity of water through the plant, so that the large quantity of contaminants also can be absorbed by the plant through the roots. So these are some of the plants which can be used for the phytoremediation process: blue-green algae, arrowroot plant, Sudan grass, rye grass, duckweed. These are the some of the plants which can be used for the process of phytoremediation. In one of the research, it has been shown that ferns can also detoxify soil by absorption of the heavy metals and some other contaminants from the soil. The other mostly used plants are Indian mustard, Indian grass. Sunflower has been very much in use in the particular in the Chernobyl area. This has been used. There are some of the plants, hydrangeas, the water hyacinths, and the willow trees. These has been used for the process of absorption of contaminants from various areas. Along with that, ornamental plants can be used in the plants which are being used for the decorative purpose in gardens and landscapes, that can be used for the remediation purpose. The industries which are allowing their effluent to flow in the nearby lake or river, these ornamental plants can be used to remove the contaminants from the effluent in these industries. They are, it will not only help in beautifying the environment in that particular industry, but along with that, it will be used to remove the contaminants from the effluents. These plants tend to accumulate pollutants in their non-food biomass and will help in boosting the economy and the ecological value of the particular area. Some of the ornamental plants that can be used to fight for the phytoremediation of heavy metals are calendula, celosia, melastoma, iris, euphorbia, millet, as well as tagetes, that is our common jildu. These plants, if are used when used for the ornamental purpose, along with that, they can be also phytoremediate or remove the contaminants from the industrial areas, will help in the removing the contaminants. Sunflower is used for the process of phytoremediation in Chernobyl, where there was a disaster. The nuclear emissions, radioactive chemical was leaked through this to the uh, plant, and that was the sunflower was used to remove the radioactive element from the soil, as well as through the process called as rhizofiltration. The water bodies which were contaminated by the nuclear disaster, the removal of the water radioactive material was done through this process called as rhizofiltration, and the sunflower plant was very well used for this process. A clean or the clarified effluent or the water that has been purified was removed from the process. So in this way, the phytoremediation can be used for various processes, various activities, that is to remove the contaminants from the areas which are having the high quantity of pollution due to the industrial effluent, as well as due to the agricultural activities, the agrochemicals which are used for the agriculture, that can be remediated, and the soils which are already having are barren and containing heavy metals can be removed from that particular area. The mechanism behind this remediation is which is used needs to be better understood, so that the best species pollutant combination can be chosen. And the one of the richest ecosystem of inhabiting microbiota in the root system helps the plant and also play a very crucial role in the success of phytoremediation in the sustainable manner. Now, for the sustainable development, that is to use all the natural resources for the future generations, we have to maintain the environment in the proper manner, so that the future generations can also use the same natural resources. Phytoremediation is one of the methods which will help to remove all these contaminants from the soil which are creating problems, and to remediate the sustainable soil, so that for the future generations the soil can be used for the agricultural purposes. This is an phytoremediation is an innovative cleanup technology for the sustainable development with the use of these plants, which are also called as hyperaccumulator plants. Sustainable development is the policy of safeguarding the future of the world through the interrelationship between the human development and environment to maintain the livelihood and well-being. Whatever the resources which are present for our generation, we are using all these natural resources, right from the soil, air, water, all we are using, but that has to be maintained in the same manner or in a purified manner for the next generation. And for that, whatever the pollutants we have allowed in the nature or which are polluting the environment, that has to be removed from the environment, so that the future generation will not blame the earlier generations for polluting the environment. The man-made designs based on phytoremediation. It offers the ecosystem services to the human being as the sustainable food, water purification, recreation, and nutrient cycling will take place due to this process called as phytoremediation. A well-planned phytoremediation method will help in removing the contaminants along with the algae, plants, and microbes. All these in a combination will help to remediate all the contaminated areas and help in maintaining the balance of the environment and provide clean water as well as the clean unpolluted soil for various purposes. The phytoremediation, it protects the biodiversity, it maintains the biodiversity and helps in growth and development of flora and fauna which is present in nature, which will help in degradation of the waste and assimilate nutrients for their survival. There are large range of plants right from the cryptogams to phanerogams, which we all study in the classification of plants that can have the potential to be used in phytoremediation process. Some of them are also the indicators, bioindicators. As we all know, the lichens are the bioindicators of the pollution. So they are indicating the level of pollution. So all these plants, right from the cryptogam, that is algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, the monocots, dicots, or gymnosperms, this can be used for the process of phytoremediation to remove the chemicals or the heavy metals from the contaminated soil. Phytoremediation, it offers many societal benefits to human and nature. We are not only planting these plants to remove the contaminants, but it is also going to benefit the atmosphere, which will include biodiversity enrichment, soil protection, preservation, carbon sequestration, water management, energy, and aesthetics, stability, and sustainability. These plants which are going to be used for the process of phytoremediation, they are helping us to remove the contaminants from the soil. At the same time, they are also providing the oxygen in the atmosphere. So these plants, they can be used with the various mechanisms that are taking place in these plants. They are helping in removing the contaminants from the soil. So thank you for having a patient hearing. I thank here all the students for maintaining their patience. Along with that, I am thankful to all the organizers also. If there are any questions from the student side, I am here to answer those questions.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Madam, please you stop sharing the screen.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Any questions from anyone? Any student? No questions, madam.
It's okay.
Thank you, madam, for your
Thank you.
thought-provoking and knowledge-gaining presentation and thrown light on various aspects of phytoremediation and sustainable development. I like to invite Dr. Shalini Chahande, madam, for giving formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Jayashree madam. A warm and cherished afternoon to our most valuable resource person of today's webinar, Dr. Seema Borki madam, qualified teachers, my dear student friends, and everyone. It is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked hard to make this webinar a success. On behalf of organizing committee, I, Dr. Shalini Sahande, Assistant Professor of Biochemistry, State Kesrimal Porwal College, Kamti, and the entire fraternity of the college, first of all, my sincere thanks to Almighty God for making this event a success. By His blessings and grace, we are able to make the event what it was. Thanks to other dignitaries. On behalf of college, I give a really heartfelt vote of thanks to our guest speaker who has enlightened us with the topic Phytoremediation and Sustainable Development. Thank you very much, ma'am. I am very grateful to the management of our college, our principal, Dr. M.B. Bagde sir, our vice principal, Dr. Vinay Chauhan sir, and Dr. Renu Tiwari madam. A special mention to our principal, Dr. M.B. Bagde sir, for providing us all the necessary facilities to carry out this webinar. We are thankful to all the committee members of the Environmental Awareness Cell, especially to our convener, Dr. Nitin Mishram sir, and all the members for their untiring efforts to make this event a success. I thank all the staff within the organization of this event. I also want to thank the people who worked behind the scene to execute the event, our technical arrangement team. Finally, I would like to thank all the participants who made this event happy with their impressive presence. Thank you very much all. And with the permission of the chair, I declare this webinar to be over. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Seema ma'am. I am
Thank you.
closing the meeting. Okay.